All right. So how many people are new to programming here? Anyone? A couple people. This is kind of a talk for new people, but even if you're not new, I think it could help seasoned developers too. So this is becoming a better programmer without actually programming. Let's see. Now, obviously, you have to do some programming to become a good programmer. But when I jumped into development 4 years ago, I accidentally kind of stumbled upon an invisible step, at least for me. So my name is RyanJohnson. I'm a graphic designer and software developer at MY Consulting Group. After college, I spent about 6 years as a professional graphic designer. And about 4 years ago, I started working for this company, MY Consulting Group, and became a full-time developer, which is quite a switch. At the time, everyone told me, do tutorials, think of an application you want to make, and create it. And I kept hearing, the only way to learn to program is to actually program. And so, like everyone else, I used, Pluralsight, Code Academy, W3 Schools, Udemy, things like that. Even took some classes at OKC. And, that honestly, I have to admit, a large chunk of the process is developing, so it makes sense. Unfortunately, I'm not up here with some kind of, nerd upload I can give you all. Instead, the missing ingredient for me was I became good friends with my coworkers, and I ended up spending a lot of time with them, and in that, I kind of found my missing ingredient. And for me, that was full-on immersion. And just by being around people that loved programming and talking about programming with people, I sort of started to absorb things. And, even things that went over my head at the time eventually came back around, and I understood them just thanks to talking with developers. And also, developers seem to have this obsession with development almost, and it kind of gets infectious a little bit. When I first started as a graphic designer, I thought development seemed cool. Programming was, wow, I didn't think I would ever be able to do that, so it seemed so smart, and it was kind of scary. And the more I got into it, though, and got around people who enjoyed it, it kind of eased that for me. As I said, coming from the world of graphic design, it was all about, our language was Apple computers, Adobe, skinny jeans, and it seemed simple to me, but I've done it all my life, I guess. Then I jumped into the world of development, and all of a sudden, it sounded really scary at first. Words like the DOM and DACPack, and even Windows. I didn't use Windows in a long time, so. And then some weird terms came about too, like one of my first few months in development, someone asked me, "Would you rubber ducky for me?" And I was like, no. Weird. And even under the covers. I have so many arguments with my coworkers because to me it should be under the hood, but in the development world it's under the covers for some reason, which just sounds weird to me. So with that, hearing all these terms and stuff, I kind of realized that it's more than just, hello world and if statements. And like I said, at first it freaked me out, but the more I kind of got to talking about these with people, I started getting relaxed. And my big thing was I asked questions, no matter what, no matter how dumb it seemed. For instance, one time someone was talking about the view in SQL, and I had heard the view as a part of the front end, and so I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, I must be dumb. So I finally asked. I was like, "What is the view in SQL? I don't understand." And once they explained to me that it's this stored procedure type thing, I understood it. But I think a lot of people are afraid to ask, or afraid to discuss things, and I think it's important that you don't do that. and a lot of these terms too. When the first time I heard DACPAC, I didn't even want to. That sounds scary. Even when they explained it to me, it didn't make sense. But now that I use it, monthly, I guess it's not like something you touch all the time, but it came back around, and it's like, oh, it was familiar, and so it wasn't as scary the next time. I'm going to kind of relate this, my idea here, to playing guitar, because I started playing guitar at 11 years old. It's something I've done all my life. I remember even back then, I made the conscious effort to always be holding my guitar, because my feeling was guitars are awkward. There's just this big piece of wood with strings. I mean, they're not comfortable. And so, yeah, I still had to learn chords, I still had to learn scales, I still had to learn songs, but just by holding that guitar all the time, when I was watching TV, when I was, emailing someone, whatever, which annoyed my wife, which annoyed my family. I mean, I'm always holding my guitar. It's a constant. But because of that, I became really comfortable with my guitar and eventually got better and better. And to me, that's relatable to this. Immersing yourself in that world, you just pick up things and you get comfortable, so that when those different ideas come around, it's no big deal. And that kind of brings me to, the next side of this. Just because, like I said, I'm 4 years in, and to me, I'm still new. I mean, but I can already tell that I have to keep learning, or else I'm going to forget things. And it doesn't just mean keep learning the one thing you do. If you're a C# developer, don't just focus only on C#. I feel like it helps to learn other languages and even things that you think you will never touch if it's technology related. Somehow it always comes back around, it seems. It's like in the 4 years I've done this, I'll hear things that I'm like, Elixir, for instance. I'm never going to work on Elixir. Well, now I'm doing a side project that is Elixir. And so with user groups, I know we're all here for C#, but why not try some other groups? Try Ruby, or try, whatever. Just look at what would interest you. And it helps you make friends in the industry, and I think that's an important thing to do, because you get discussing things outside of work, and it can teach you new things that you never even thought you would need, and it could come up on the job. And then that goes along with learning a technology you don't use at work. And then also, like I said, I'm doing a side project right now. Create a side project either alone or with other developers. I think that's important because you only learn so much on the job. You get a lot of times you get doing the same thing, and so, for me, I'm mostly front end half the time, and so I'm making these views over and over. Well, that's gonna make me just kind of become stagnant if I just do that. So I met some friends and started working on a side project that's Angular 6 and Elixir. And functional programming, that definitely is a term that would have scared me at the beginning, but I've been to some user groups and heard about it, and why not? Let's try it, And the other thing that I often hear from people is that come up and do these talks, they'll say they learned a new skill just to give a talk. It was just kind of giving a talk was an excuse to learn a new skill. And I think what a better way to force yourself to learn something. Go sign up for something like this, as nerve-wracking as it may be, and next thing you know this thing that you didn't think you would have otherwise, or maybe even thought you didn't have time for otherwise. So again, RyanJohnson, if you guys have any questions. Yes, back here? Sorry. Okay. What's DACPAC? So, I'm not the best person to answer this question, I feel like. But you know what? Here's a good thing to do now. So since you don't know what that is, let's do a talk on it. So in our next C# lightning talks, we can expect a talk on DACPAC. Come back for that one. Is the other question? Okay. So the question was, what's the best way to get over being afraid to ask questions? And then the second part of that was, what's the best way to not sound condescending when you're answering? I don't answer a lot of questions, so I don't know about that one. But even with that one, I can at least say, it's like when people ask me stuff with graphic design. I mean, just because I've been doing it for a long time doesn't mean I'm the best at it. And so I always try to keep that in mind, that there's people way better than me. And I'm reminded of it constantly. I'll think my logo design was awesome, and I'll get online and see someone else's and be like, I suck. But that's part of it. So I think if you keep that in mind, it's easy to answer questions that way. And the first part of that question, how do you get over the fear of asking questions? I mean, if you really want to be good at something, you're going to have to look dumb. But even though it feels like you're looking dumb, I think to those people it feels like you're being intelligent by asking a question. So I don't think there should be a fear. And also, developers love to talk about the things they know. They love to show how smart they are or something. So it's not gonna make you look bad at all. So another question.
Yeah. So you mentioned that once you go to the Ruby view, I'm gonna do a quick plug for that.
Right.
This Thursday we're doing an intro to Ruby on Rails. It's probably the only reason you've ever heard of Ruby. So same time, same place, 12:30. Be there.
So Ruby on Rails, when was it?
This Thursday.
This Thursday. Okay.
11:30.
11:30. So come to that and you can learn a new skill, like I was saying. So, yeah.
Never heard of rubber decking.
Rubber decking? So I can explain this one. Basically, you know how a lot of times you'll be working on something in code and you know it, but you just can't get it. So you'll call someone over and they'll be your rubber duck. They won't say anything. You'll just look at them and explain what you're doing, and somehow it comes to you every single time. So some people use actual rubber duckies, I guess. I don't know. It still seems weird to me. I usually call it rubber goosing. I don't know.